अग्निर्यथैको भुवनं प्रतिष्ठो रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च वायुर्यथैको भुवनं प्रविष्टो रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च एको वशी सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा एकं रूपं बहुधा यः करोति तम् आत्मस्थं ये अनुपश्यन्ति धीराः तेषां सुखं शाश्वतं नेतरेषाम्। ओम। As fire, though one takes the shape of every object which it consumes, so the self, though one, takes the shape of every object in which it dwells. As air, though one takes the shape of every object which it enters, so the self, though one, takes the shape of every object in which it dwells. He is one, the Lord and innermost self of all, of one form. He makes of himself many forms. To him who sees the self revealed in his own heart belongs eternal bliss, to none else, to none else.
Friends, my greetings to you. Every year on this day, the 4th of July, we meet specially to feel the living presence of our illustrious leader, Swami Vivekananda. On this day, which was a day favorite to Swami Vivekananda, because it is the day of American independence, he chose this day specially to enter into Mahasamadhi. Yes, he disappeared from our physical sight. In this connection, I'll tell you an incident or a little conversation that took place between a disciple and our master, Swami Brahmananda Maharaj. A disciple asked Maharaj, "Maharaj, is Ramakrishna still living?" And to that Maharaj answered, "Are you crazy that you ask such a question? Of course he is living. How else could we live dedicated lives?" Then the disciple asked him again, "But do you see him, Maharaj?" "Yes, through his grace I see him, and you also can see him." And the associates of Ramakrishna, who is considered the divine incarnation, some of them, and of all those, Vivekananda was regarded as belonging to the Ishwar Koti, which means that he is an eternal companion of God. In Buddhism, Ishwar Kotis are known as Bodhisattvas. And I can say that Swami Vivekananda entered into Mahasamadhi. He disappeared from our physical vision, but he can be seen today. He lives in the hearts of his devotees, and through his grace again, these divine incarnations like Christ or Buddha or Krishna or Ramakrishna, they are seen, and they will be seen for eternity by human beings. And these associates of these great ones also are helping mankind, guiding mankind towards that supreme goal. What was it that Vivekananda had put before mankind as the supreme goal? Not that he taught anything new. First, I must mention to you what Jesus had taught. Be perfect, even as the Father which is in heaven is perfect. But this truth was forgotten. And Vivekananda came to show by his life example and by his teachings that that is the ideal to be achieved. And he pointed out very definitely that there is that divinity, that God, residing within the hearts of everyone. And it is the urge, there is the urge in everyone to unfold that divinity, only they do not know. But each is potentially divine, and each must unfold that divinity. Then there are many ways, they are known as yogas. But Swami Vivekananda taught not any one particular yoga, but he wanted us to make a harmonious combination of all the yogas. In short, we have to be active and we have to be meditative. We have to have devotion, but we must have knowledge also. And the harmonious combination of these four paths of union is the religion of the present age. That is what Swami Vivekananda emphasized. And so today, I want you to feel that living presence of Vivekananda and dedicate your lives to the realization of God within your own hearts, and thus be ye perfect, even as the Father which is in heaven is perfect. Today's occasion has been made a very happy occasion, and I'd say it has added a great joy by the presence of my brother, Swami Akhilananda, who is the founder and head of the Vedanta Centers of Boston and Providence. I can do no better than to introduce him just by saying that he is one of the most devoted disciples of Swami Brahmananda Maharaj, and I envy his devotion to Maharaj, Swami Akhilananda.
Swami Prabhupada, my dear brother, and Swami Bandhananda and friends, it gives me a great joy to be here this auspicious day. It is indeed a great occasion that we are celebrating this day. Perhaps all of you know that the Buddhists call one day thrice blessed day, because Buddha was born on a particular day and he was illumined, and again he left this gross body on that day. This is also a blessed day because Swami Vivekananda left this gross body to remain forever. As my beloved brother said, that he can be seen. Let us consider his great message. As you know, today we are facing a critical time in history of mankind. I am sure all of you are thoroughly acquainted with the situation. We have personal problems, interpersonal problems, and international problems. There are many great thinkers who feel that it has to be solved, and that is the very reason many outstanding thinkers in this country have organized a number of institutions to find out a solution of this critical situation or all these problems. Most of the great thinkers feel that they must do something to remove this crisis. As you all know, many persons are facing emotional troubles. They don't know how to handle them. There are many superficial thinkers who seem to feel they can help mankind. They mean well. They want to do good. There is no question about that. We also feel that they mean very well, yet they do not go deep enough to solve this critical situation or the problems of this critical period of mankind. It is not limited to this country or that country. It is practically present all over the world. As we are living in one world, you will be shocked to know the report of one of the greatest psychiatrists in this country, Dr. Kenneth Apple. In his speech 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I don't remember exactly the date, he declared that about 1 million persons are hospitalized for mental diseases right here. Some of the outstanding psychiatrists say that they cannot have sufficient psychiatrists to treat them. 2 or 3 of my very good friends reported to me that there are many mental hospitals, state hospitals, where they have psychiatrists only to say good morning, nothing else, or to report to their relatives the conditions of these people. This is the situation in one sense. Then you know what is happening about juvenile delinquency. About a month ago, Edgar Hoover reported that this country had 2 million major crimes that year, last year, and 20,000 murders. Just imagine. And similar problems are there. Outstanding thinkers are getting together to find out a solution of this great problem of mankind. They started at least 4 organizations I know quite intimately. One is called Society for Creative Altruistic Love. It means really religious application. Another is called American Academy of Mental Health and Religion. Kenneth Apple is the president of that organization. Tillich is also taking active part in it. Another is called Institute of Religion in the Age of Science. Some of my very intimate friends are taking part in it. Another is called scientific study of religion, they all mean to solve this problem. Let me share with you a statement that one of the outstanding leaders, one of the outstanding scientists of this country, in fact of the world, told me one day how he feels. And he is taking active part in these organizations. And you will be amazed to know that he often carries one book. I don't know if you can guess it. Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga in his pocket. One day he told me, Swami, I am amazed how this man could understand the problems and solutions of the present day world about 60 years ago. He also said that this man could understand even the latest discoveries of science. Just imagine. I think I can mention his name to you. Dr. Harlow Shapley is known all over the world. Now, can Swami Vivekananda solve our problems? I was very much interested to hear the chant that our beloved brother recited from one of the Upanishads, and what my beloved brother Swami Prabhupada also mentioned about the divinity of man. It may sound funny to many persons. How can this idea solve the contemporary problems? Swami Vivekananda declared that man is potentially divine. The moment we know that, really and truly, that very moment we can handle our personal problems, our emotional disturbances. My humble experiences with people show very definitely that the more people understand that they are potentially divine, the more they can handle their emotional problems. Why do they have tensions? Why do they have frustrations? Why do they have anxiety? And consequently, why do they have such emotional disturbances that the doctors say that 65 to 80% of the total medical cases are emotional cases, psychosomatic diseases? Why? The reason is they do not know who they are. They want to satisfy their cravings, desires, longings by getting more and more money, by getting more and more power, position, or by getting new homes, new washing machines, new televisions, and so on and so forth. They think they will be satisfied. They are not satisfied. I think I can share with you one very shocking incident of a death of one of the wealthiest men in this country, who built a fortune, enormous fortune, and finally he committed suicide. Eastman Kuri. I don't know how many of you know what he did. I happen to know quite intimately what he did. For MIT, he gave on one occasion $50 million. Then he gave also another $15 or $20 million. He built up Rochester University, Rochester Medical Center, Rochester Music Hall. All this he did. After he reached 70 or 72 years age, everything was empty. There's nothing to live for. A friend of mine, a very wealthy man, self-made man, came from England when he was a 14-year-old boy. He became multimillionaire. I can never forget his eyes. During the middle of this war, one day I was in his home. He said, Swami, everything is empty. It happened in Providence, Rhode Island. He had a peculiar habit of entertaining at least twice a week people, and he would often invite me to meet his business friends and others. Everything was empty. He had 4 children, 2 sons, 2 daughters. Beautiful home. His home was built according to the model of an English lord. He brought materials from Europe even to build up things. But fortunately, he realized emptiness a little early, when he was about 62 years old. Unfortunately, he died after 3-4 years. But still, he could do something about it. You see, this indicates that by getting money, power, position, homes, televisions, and so on, you can't be happy. That is the very reason this great scientist says this man understood the solutions of the problem. Life is empty. The more we understand that we are potentially divine, and the manifestation of divinity, that is the goal of life, as Swami told us just a few minutes ago. If we think that we have to manifest our divine nature, that is the goal, then we can solve our personal problems. There cannot be any anxiety. There cannot be any frustration. There cannot be any tension in mind if we do that, if we can understand that and try to manifest that divinity in us. Then again, the question arises, I may understand that Jesus taught that kingdom of God is within you. Some people challenge us. I shall be sorry to report, but I cannot help reporting the challenging statements that some of the scientists make to us when we talk about the efficacy of religion. Then they say, do you know that the Christians fought more than 500 wars in the name of religion since the days of Jesus? If your religion was effective, why did they fight so much? And they also tell us, challenging way, that theologians, for instance, do not seem to understand they should follow the path of Jesus. Some of the theologians say that greater nations have something to do with smaller nations. I'm practically quoting without mentioning the name. And some theologians say that these teachings of Christ are obsolete today. They were applicable in medieval monastery. We are now in the monastery. We can say that it is not medieval monastery, it is a modern monastery. And then they also say that the ideas of Jesus, these are the peacemakers, could be practiced by those perfectionists, means Quakers and Mennonites and such other people, and so on. They are not applicable today in this industrial civilization. Swami Vivekananda was very emphatic that they are applicable. That is the very reason these scientists say the solutions of this man are the real solutions of contemporary world. The theologians or others who claim that they are religious people, they know very well, I agree. They know very well the teachings of Jesus. They can teach me and you all the Bible. But the idea of Jesus, kingdom of God is within, or blessed are the peacemakers, are limited to their only intellect. Those ideas don't go into their system of mind or structure of emotion. No. They don't apply these ideas. So Swami Vivekananda says that we need practical Vedanta. not mere theoretical Vedanta. Application of this idea that man is divine in our life. We have to cultivate that idea in our everyday life. Some people will say, particularly some of our orthodox psychiatrists will say, that you are repressing your ideas because you are taking that medieval medicine man God, fictitious thing, get rid of that thing and you will be all right. Would to God it were so simple as they want us to be all right. That is not the way to be all right. I can share with you some of my very painful experiences with persons who have been treated by orthodox psychiatrists for 2 to 20 years. Yet they are like this. We dismiss their ideas because they don't know what they are talking about. This God is not a fictitious thing or a medicine man, medieval medicine man, a real thing, as Swami Prabhupada explained to us just a few minutes ago. There are many persons who see divine manifestations of God today, and they can teach us how to live the life. Swami Vivekananda wanted to apply this idea in our everyday life, not to keep this idea in the book or in the church or in the temple or in the mosque or synagogue. No, apply this idea in our life. This is the practical Vedanta. We are not repressing our desires. Swami Vivekananda asked us to cultivate the service motive, knowing that every man is divine. A husband and wife should live the life at home by cultivating the service motive, that God is present in husband, wife, children, parents, and so on, employers and employees, colleagues and co-workers, and try to do things for them in the spirit of service, consecration. This is practical Vedanta. We are not to repress, but we have to transform our urges, drives, and sentiments, knowing that we are divine. Then when the question comes about the interracial problems, international problems, we wonder whether Swami Vivekananda was really right. Let me tell you a report of my experience where one psychiatrist tried to corner me. In a meeting of psychiatrists, about 200 people were there, just about 3 months ago. He tried to corner me that if you say what you are saying, then why do they have the trouble in the Middle East? If your religion is so good, that why do they fight? Or in other part of the world fight? Why? The same old idea, you know. He tried to show that no, we are not right, you see. Our idea is this. These people who are fighting or quarreling, they don't understand the basic ideas of religion, whether it is Hinduism or Buddhism or Judaism or anyism, you say. So they fight. It is not because they are applying religion, but because they are not applying religion. They don't understand religion, so they are fighting and quarreling. It is not the fault of religion. It is the fault of the abuse of religion. This answer we give to Marxists also, that you are criticizing the abuses of religion, as Freud did. Now, in our interracial problem, we can apply the same idea. The Jews are divine as the Islamic people are divine. Hindus are divine as the Christians are divine. Apply this principle, then you will find there is no reason for us to quarrel among ourselves. So far as international problem is concerned, that is the only solution I see. I don't see any other solution. You may have some kind of peace movement, some kind of alliance, it remains for a few days. As Dr. Sorokin, Dr. Mumford Jones says, that They have been fighting for so many years, for 2000 years. And they claim that they will have peace next time by international alliance or this society or that society. It cannot happen unless they change the attitude of life. And that is the very reason these outstanding thinkers are feeling that they must teach the people how to apply the basic principles of religion in their life. If you want to solve the international problem, you have to go to the root of that trouble. The cause of the trouble. Cause is selfishness, egocentricity. I for myself, or my nation for my nation. It doesn't make any difference what happens to other people. It doesn't make any difference. I must have things in, or my nation or my race must have these things. You can't continue this way. Otherwise, they would not have fought 500 years or more than 500 wars for the last 2000 years. They would not have done that. And the funny thing is that they always say that we are fighting for peace. Next time we will have peace. They don't have peace. In our lifetime, we saw 2 world wars, and there is another threat of 3rd World War. They are preparing themselves. They think by building up they will do that. They cannot do it. Swami Vivekananda gives the solution. Cultivate this idea that every man is divine. Then you find the background of cooperative society. Then you know you can do things for others, not otherwise. I don't see why should you do for others if you are to enjoy this world as you see the world. But on the other hand, if you see that man is divine, different races are divine, different religious groups are divine, then you can solve this problem. Another thing Swami Vivekananda did, and that is the reason also the scientists and great philosophers are fascinated by him. He showed there is a harmony between science and religion. Religion is not mere acceptance of doctrines and dogmas, but it is practical application in life. If you know his life, what kind of life he lived? He lived the life of experience of God. When he came to his master, first question he asked, "Sir, have you seen God?" And you know the answer also what Ramakrishna gave to him. I see him. I see him more vividly than I see you. And you can see it too. The disciples of great master Ramakrishna, all of them emphasized on that. You can verify yourself. I am sure all of you, at least most of you, read Eternal Companion written by my beloved brother Swami Prabhupada. And you know what Swami Brahmananda says there. He did not say that I see and you follow me. No. He says, you do it. You experience it. That was the message of Swami Vivekananda. Apply that principle in your life. You can verify it. From that point of view, his teaching, or rather teachings, are very scientific. That these religious experiences are verifiable. They are not limited to some person and some groups. They are universal. You can verify yourself that God exists. And you can apply this principle that the man is divine yourself by manifesting that divine quality. And as Swami told us just a few minutes ago, Swami Vivekananda also emphasized on the technique of spiritual practices so that we can verify these ideas ourselves. When we have that, then alone we become centers of love. We talk of love, as you know. I love you, this talk. But real love was manifested by Swami Vivekananda and other such personalities who manifested that divinity. And that love cannot be measured. When you have that experience of God, you manifest your self-love, you attract people to do the same thing in a magnetic way. And that is the connecting link between a teacher and the student, so that the student can reach that thing, what you call God or Absolute or Brahman or whatever you like to call. So, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Brahmananda, and such other personalities showed us definitely that you and I can all verify the existence of God. You and I can also manifest that love. You and I can also be connecting link between this individual and other individuals, this race and other races, this country and other countries. And that is the only solution of all the problems that we see in the contemporary world. Thank you.